Hey, what's up? It's Scotty Young, and today I'm going to be doing a daily sketch of Dorothy from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz and talking about how The Wizard of Oz changed my life. Dun, dun, dun! It's so dramatic. I live a very epic life. No. What? I don't know. Let's go watch the drawing happen. I'll just go all the way back to the beginning. And in around 2007, I was working on new X-Men at Marvel. It was really fun. It was cool. I loved working on it. There was a lot of cool characters, but it was on that side of my career where I was still trying to figure out how I draw. Around that time, I was still drawing very clean, very, very clean lines, and it was very labor intensive. My days were long. They were hard. It was a struggle, and I never quite felt comfortable with the way I drew. But the X-Men series was successful. Everything was going well. It worked. I thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to be on X-Men for a while. I'm going to do the big crossover after this because that's kind of what the next stage of things was. While I was working on new X-Men, the talent, the person in charge of talent over there at the time called me up and said, "Hey, we think we know what we want you to do next after X-Men." And I was like, "Well, I kind of wanted to do X-Men for a while." And I said, "But what are you thinking?" And they said, "The Wizard of Oz," adapting the Wizard of Oz novels. And I thought, "Oh man, this can't go well." It just didn't feel like that was the next progression for my career, was to go from a pretty successful run on X-Men to adaptations of The Wizard of Oz. Now, that's my career brain thinking. The other part of me, the part of me that loves Alice in Wonderland and Neverending Story and The Labyrinth as my favorite forms of entertainment, is freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, what a cool idea to adapt the original Baum novels into comics. Not just the movie that we're all familiar with, but actually go back and do those novels. So I was really torn of two minds on this, right? Like, I really wanted to keep going and climb that superhero ladder, that corporate superhero ladder. Because let me be honest, at the time I was still, living in Chicago, and me and Casey were still eking out a living, like trying to figure out, where we stood in the world as financially. So it's not like there was a lot of freedom. When jobs come along, you took the jobs. Kickstarter didn't exist yet. YouTube, money, none of these other ways of really bringing in extra money was there quite yet. So I was torn. I really wanted to keep going in that superhero route, even though it didn't feel that comfortable to me all the time. Ultimately, I turned down the job. I thought about it for a day. I called him back the next day, and I just said, I don't think it's the right move for me at the moment. But to Marvel's credit, they came back to me again. They were like, we've been talking, and we think you're perfect for it. They came back to me. I kept turning it down, and they kept coming back to me for about 2.5 weeks. Ultimately, what really got me on board was they said, "And we really want you to draw however you want to draw." I ended up taking the job and asked them to let me do some covers or get a cover gig on a regular Marvel Universe book, just so I could stay relevant in the comic book industry. Because I really thought this book would not sell. I thought that it would just kind of come out and I'd do it for a year and nobody would buy it, and then I'd have to try to find my way back into regular comics. And Eric Schanauer was not on board yet. So ultimately I said yes. They gave me a cover gig on cable Deadpool and some Iron Man in an Iron Man series. So I got to start learning how to do covers and exercise that muscle a little bit. And I went away and started designing Oz and just drawing and seeing what came out. It was really fun. And I was just, oh my gosh, I was like, I don't think this is going to sell at all, but I'm having so much fun drawing. Ultimately, they hire Eric on, which for those people who don't know, Eric Schanauer, I would consider him like, one of the modern day masters, historians, custodians, or whatever you want to call it, of the Baum books. He is a master of them. And they got him on to adapt them, and we went off and we worked on this book. And I did draw however I wanted, and it was so fun, and work wasn't hard anymore. The first year, people started saying, "Oh my gosh, you guys this is gonna be great." And I'm like, okay, I still didn't believe it. Then, I was completely wrong. The books came out. They sold great. We won a bunch of Eisners for multiple volumes of this. We were on the New York Times bestsellers list for years with these. And ultimately, I got to spend 5 years on the Oz books. When you move from book to book to book, you basically are relearning your job. So if you spend 6 issues or 3 issues on Spider-Man, and then the next, then you get a job on X-Men, you are relearning your job. So imagine it, any place you work at, and then you quit that place and go to another place. There's a huge gap of learning. And that's what happens. You've got to learn a new writer. You've got to learn a new editor. You've got to learn how to draw new characters. And for 5 years, I didn't have to do that. For 5 years, I got the opportunity to just lean in and focus on storytelling and focus on drawing, and enjoy drawing again and get better at it and understand what I wanted out of color. And I got to know Jean-Francois Bilot, my longtime collaborator on colors. He and I have been working together, I think, almost 16 years now. We became a well-oiled machine together, and now there's never a thing that I'll do that he won't color, as long as he wants to. But these are things that I couldn't have foreseen when they were offering me that first job. And then it was so funny when we got ready to end Oz, after the 6th volume, and Marvel said, "Well, what do you want to do next?" I had the exact opposite thoughts that I had when they offered me the job, which was, I don't think that I could just go back and do normal superheroes. Like, I actually don't think I know how to draw that way anymore, because I had leaned into how I actually naturally draw, and the way that I drew came out. Finally, after all these years of searching for it, I found myself on this book. A lot happened while we worked on that book. I lived in 3 cities over the course of working on that book. My younger brother at 26 had a heart transplant while I worked on this book. We lived in 4 different houses. My dad passed away while working on this book. I met some of my best friends in life while I worked on this book. I had children, 1 child, while I worked on this book. So I became a father. We got our first dogs as a couple. A lot of life happened in between the covers of this book. So if there's somebody had asked a question once that said, can you look at a moment in your career where it was like a big turning point? I will always highlight the working on the Oz graphic novels as the biggest turning point in my entire career and personal life and artistic life and everything. It was such a big, important part of my journey. I will forever be thankful that David Gabriel and Dan Buckley and CB and the other people at Marvel hounded me and changed my mind when I kept turning this book down. Always be grateful that they got me on board. I want to thank Eric Schenauer for taking such good care of the text and the books themselves on the writings front. It was great to meet him. He will be a friend forever. And I'll just want to thank all the people who always bought the books and read them and shared them with their kids and everything. So anyway, if you are interested in checking these books out, you can get them wherever books are sold. The original graphic novels were The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, The Marvelous Land of Oz, Ozma of Oz, Dorothy and the Wizard in Oz, The Road to Oz, and The Emerald City of Oz. Those are the originals. There's also a big omnibus that Marvel put out that collects all 6 volumes in a really big hardcover that's really awesome. And also, Marvel is re-releasing the entire series in 3 volumes where each book collects 2 previous graphic novels into one, and they're in fun little digest size, so they'll fit on shelves with books, other books that we all love, like Smile, and the Bone books and things like that. So run out to your store, run out to your comic book shop, pick up the Oz graphic novels. They're perfect for kids, all ages, perfect for everybody. So enjoy.